Hello, and welcome back to Talking Blarney. With an estimated 1.3 million participants in 2026, HYROX is one of the fastest growing fitness competitions in the world. It combines endurance running with functional strength. It's attracting everybody from everyday gym goers to elite athletes. My guest today is Augie Lengling, a Minnesota-based HYROX pro athlete that competes in the men's pro 40 to 44 singles and doubles divisions. In today's conversation, we discuss how Augie initially discovered this fitness competition, how he trains to compete at a high level, and why athletes from around the world are drawn to this rapidly growing sport. If you enjoy this conversation, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment below. It really helps me grow the channel. Now, enjoy the conversation with Augie Lengling. Augie Lengling, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me, what's going through your mind when you're 20 wall balls in on the last 100 wall balls?
Well, I mean, you get up to the wall balls, you're sweaty, you're exhausted, right? And then you pick that thing up. It probably feels a little bit heavier than it did in training. And then once you get to 20, either you're thinking, I'm doing really well, I'm making my way through, or I can't believe I have 80 more to go. It just kind of depends on how the race went prior. But overall, the wall balls is by far the hardest station, and it's probably the one that people look forward to the least.
It is at the finish line, but I think you're pretty much spent by that point. Now, after you get to that point, it's 8 runs, it's 8 stations. It's obviously capped off with those 100 wall balls. When you finish those 100 wall balls and cross the finish line, what is that feeling like?
I think there's a lot of things kind of going through your head at that point. First of all, you're just happy that you finished. It is kind of a grueling race, whether you finish it in 60 minutes or 2 hours, it's definitely quite a challenge. You're excited that you're actually going to be able to finish, and you're happy about that accomplishment. And then at the same time, you're ready for a rest. You cross the finish line, you get some water. They have some chairs you can relax in, some massage guns if you need it. So it's nice just to kind of step back and look at what you've accomplished. So for myself, sometimes I have a race the next day, depending on if I'm doing both singles and doubles. So it's kind of like, bittersweet knowing that you have to come back and do it all over again the following day. But it's definitely a rewarding experience.
How did you get involved in these types of hybrid fitness competitions? How long have you been doing this for?
It's definitely been a progression. I mean, throughout my entire life, I've always been interested in fitness and working out and so forth through high school and college. After I graduated college, I got into primarily weight training. I did a Spartan race here and there just to kind of see what it was like to get out and run a little bit, but I wasn't really a fan of running or cardio in general. So I actually did some men's physique and so forth for a couple of years and worked on building out my body. And long term, I knew that just wasn't for me. I didn't want to get as big as you need to be successful in men's physique. So I pivoted. I did some mountaineering, hiking, along stuff like that. And then eventually, just with a job change, I moved to Seattle, which has amazing trail running and hiking. And I really started to get into running there. And it just so happened that Spartan Race has 2 races a year in Seattle. So I started running those every year, and I felt like I could potentially be competitive in the space. So I tried to start working my way into running and placing in age groups. And I think I did what most people would do. The race is 6 or 7 miles. So I'd go out and run 6 or 7 miles a couple of times a week. And I thought I was preparing myself, but I was nowhere near as fit as I'd need to be to actually, compete and with some of the guys in my age group. So I eventually hired a personal trainer who's Kirk DeWint. He's been awesome for me, and we've been together, for the past 6 years now. And then he really set out my training regimen and allowed me to progress and eventually, win age group races, place at the North American Championships within my age group, and also win the age group national series for Spartan for one of the years I was competing. So overall, over the course of, I think it was 4 years, I ran about 60 Spartan races, and I was having a blast there. But I guess I'd say I accomplished a lot of the goals that I had within Spartan. And then at that time, a lot of Spartan racers were moving over to HYROX. It was just becoming more and more popular in the United States. So I kind of had an interest in it, right? I thought I could be good at that as well. And then eventually I pivoted to HYROX full time about 2 years ago. So 2024 is when I really started taking HYROX seriously. So it's definitely been a progression over to HYROX.
The individuals that kind of brought you along and you all kind of got interested together, is there like a friendly competition between you all? What's the dynamic there as you guys got more involved into this competitive race?
Yeah, very, very much so. So initially I thought, you're competing with people, um, basically, right, you're out to get each other on the race course. But in reality with Spartan, I met a lot of really, really great guys in my age group. Like we eventually started traveling together, sharing Airbnbs, right? Like it became a group of us that were within our age group and racing against one another. So it's a lot of camaraderie. And we still chat today. Some of them have moved over to HYROX. We get together. We try to get together, once a year or so and run a race together. So I've definitely made some long-term friends from it as well.
To date now, how many HYROX competitions have you been involved in?
In total, I've ran 17 HYROX races, and is a combination of doubles within the open category, individuals in the open category is where I started, and then here this last 2 years I've done the pro division racing, which is the higher weights, as well as doubles pro as well. And this was my first year running doubles, which is a completely different experience than running an individual HYROX race.
What is that experience between running a singles and a doubles race? I mean, obviously you got kind of a partner you can feed off of and the time gets a little improved, but what is that dynamic change?
Yeah. So initially I thought it would hopefully be a little bit easier, right? Like you're splitting the station work. So you would think you get a little bit of a break and the race itself wouldn't be as taxing, but it's actually the opposite. I mean, I've never worked hard as I have in the two doubles races I've run with my partner, just because the running is so much faster. I mean, you are getting a break in the stations, but you're working at a much higher level on the stations as well, right? You're skiing much faster. You're pushing the sled a lot harder. You're doing your burpee, broad jumps, and lunges at a significantly higher cadence. So it all just kind of adds up. And then, like I said, to put on top of that, you're probably running 20 to 30 seconds a mile faster on the runs. And it's a very intense race. Let's put it that way.
Now, jumping back a little bit, tell me about what your first HYROX experience was.
So my first HYROX was Chicago doubles. I think it was in 21 or 22, something along those lines. And I just jumped in with a buddy, no expectations, just to kind of see what the race was like. This is still when I was primarily running Spartan races. And it was a blast. Like the event was so professional. It was awesome because it's very, very well set up for spectators as well. So wife, friends, stuff come along and they can see you throughout the course of the race. And I actually liked the predictability of it. You always know it's going to be the 8 1K runs. You know what the stations are going to be, so you can definitely train specifically for them. So I ran that race, again, just for fun. And then afterwards, I told myself, I'm like, this is going to be something I'm going to want to pursue going forward. So I finished out my Spartan season and then pretty much switched over to HYROX.
So after that first initial race, how many more races was it until you qualified for the Worlds?
So it was actually a pretty quick process for me because you could actually qualify from the open division when I started. So eventually I ran Fort Lauderdale Open and I won my age group, which then qualified me for Worlds. So that was my first actual race. 2 weeks later, I went and ran Washington, D.C. That's the age group North American Championships. I won my age group there as well. And then I decided I'd give it a shot and head over to Nice for Worlds. I think it was a few months after that. So it really took me one race, but that's not normal.
Now in 2026, you recently just completed Worlds in Stockholm. Tell me about the experience over there.
Anytime you're traveling overseas for a race, it's definitely a much bigger commitment than when you're racing in the States. But also at the same time, when going over, I try to bring my wife along and make it more of like a vacation as well. But getting over there, I mean, everything's just on a much larger scale when it's Worlds. So they have you in a stadium there, and the competition is also just at a much higher level, right? I think the stat was the top 0.5% qualify for world championships. So you may be winning your races, your local races in the United States, but then you go over to Worlds and it's a completely different situation. Um, as a whole, like we went and we were able to watch the Elite 15 races the night before, and it was just electric in the stadium watching those men and women race and how fast they go and just how good they are at the race itself. It was a blast to watch. And then being able to compete on that same course, the next 2 days and kind of see what you have in the tank as well was an awesome experience. The result I got there wasn't what I was hoping for, but I mean, every race doesn't go your way. So all you kind of can do is go back, keep training, and then hope you get another chance down the road.
Format for a HYROX race is that the 8 runs plus the 8 stations. I think with most people, as they describe their experience in a HYROX race, they always have like 1 or 2 stations they feel extremely confident in, and then there's like 1 to 2 that are extremely challenging. Did you have some that you felt like you were very naturally gifted in, and then others that you had a challenging time getting through?
Yeah, I'm a taller, like heavier athlete, I would say, compared to most that you would see out in running HYROXs at a higher level. So being taller, some of the ergs actually work. It works in my favor with the ski and the row, and then being a little bit heavier, the sled push and pull are ones that I was naturally a little bit better at than others. On the flip side, doing burpee broad jumps when you're taller and heavier can be a little bit of a challenge. And then I'm not a huge fan of the lunges either. Like those are my 2 stations that have always been a challenge for me. And they're the ones that I work on most in training as well.
Now, you also do doubles. When you were picking your partner, did you kind of look for complementary skills, or were you guys going to like double down and really crush one particular station?
Yeah, so that's an interesting kind of way that came about as well. So we both, my doubles partner and I both had the same personal trainer. And he knew that my doubles partner was looking for somebody to run HYROX with. And he's like, hey, I got a guy. I think he'd be a great match for you, because really in doubles, you want to have somebody who is very similar to you in as far as ability level. So you want to be running roughly the same pace, and you also want to both be strong on the stations. Because if one of your partners is a really fast runner, but then the other one can't keep up, and vice versa on the stations, it just doesn't work well overall throughout the course of the race. So really our personal trainer hooked us up, and then we ran our first race this year together, and we qualified for Worlds in Chicago. We ran a second one in Houston just to kind of hopefully knock some more of the rust off. And then we competed in Stockholm as well.
How much is pacing involved? When you're working with your partner, you obviously have to feed off each other and kind of be relatively on the same skill level or pacing in terms of running. How do you approach the pacing of a HYROX race when you're running your singles?
So when I'm running singles, you definitely don't want to go out too hot. I think that's what a lot of people do in HYROX, and it's a big mistake. You get excited, you're in the tunnel, right? There's the music, there's the countdown, and everybody just sprints out of that tunnel at, probably as fast as they can go. And then you get to the ski, and again, you're excited. You're probably skiing a lot harder and a lot faster than you normally would. And then you start feeling it a few stations later, because you got both sled push and sled pull next. So really, I try to pace my runs so that they're roughly the same every single lap, right, or every single 1K. And then I try to temper my enthusiasm through the sleds, because I don't want to get out too far ahead of myself, and then I'll have trouble on the back half of the race. Because really, you can make up a lot of time in the back half of the race if you don't press too hard in the first half. That being said, it can be hard because you are racing other individuals, and you know that a lot of them are in your age group, so you want to continue to keep up. But you just got to keep in mind that it's a 60+ minute race. There's a lot of time to be made up, and you have to play to your strengths and weaknesses as well.
I think for most people, the case is that they kind of nuke their legs on the sled push. Have you fallen victim to that?
I have. Yes, I have. Definitely. Like you get there again, you're really excited. You're pushing. It seems like it's moving great. And then all of a sudden you're in that third or fourth length, and your legs are fried, and you can't move it the way you were, 1 minute ago. and then you go to run and you don't have any legs under you. And next thing you know, you went from running, say, a 4-minute K to a 5-minute K. So you can just bleed out time the rest of the race.
Now, how do you balance the physical and mental toll? I think the pacing is obviously something you have to be very cognizant of. It's an hour-long race, as you said. How do you kind of balance the mentality of knowing where you're going to be putting your effort throughout that race?
Yeah, I think it comes with time and understanding how the race is going to feel throughout the course, and kind of where your headspace is going to be. Like I always know, like this after the sled pull and like through the burpees, I'm not having fun. Like there's no fun to be had at that point. I am not happy to be out there, right? And I realize that now, like, hey, I got to get through these two stations, and then I can run, I can recover on the row, and I can get in kind of a better mental headspace to finish strong. Because if you don't, and you end up, quitting on yourself, right? It's just you're gonna feel even worse by the time you get to the finish line. You're not really gonna know how well you were able to perform. The other thing I think about a lot too is all the training that went into this, right? I mean, we're training 3 to 6 months leading up to a race. So you put in the work, you know that you've been diligent, and now you just have to let it show on race day and believe in yourself.
Now, that leads us into the next topic, which is training and preparation for it. How, that 3 months ahead of time, how are you pacing it out? How are you training to kind of make sure that you're at peak physical condition and you don't burn out by the time you get to the HYROX race?
Right. It's so I train all year long, roughly take 2 weeks off throughout the course of the year, spaced in between large breaks between races. I'm not an expert when it comes to periodized training and so forth, which is again why I use a personal trainer. So I get a month long training program, and I just kind of follow that throughout the course of the month. So he'll determine when to add in more HYROX work versus when to be more focused on running and so forth. So for example, my next race isn't until October in Boston. And I know that my biggest area for improvement continues to be running. So we went to a solely running program here for probably the next 6 to 8 weeks. And then we'll start filtering back in HYROX work, getting more into the stations, the sleds. Like I still have a little bit of it within my schedule, but right now really trying to focus on running and getting those paces down, that turnover that I need to be able to run faster on race day. So the training definitely ramps up as you're getting closer to a race. And then we try to taper the last, 7 to 10 days kind of leading into the race itself.
How do you balance aerobic and strength training for it? So you mentioned that you're trying to improve on the running aspect of it. I think that's one of the things many people say is they're very surprised at how much running is involved in a HYROX race. So it's very easy to train for the stations, but you're going to be doing 8 kilometers over the course of the competition. So how do you balance that strength versus aerobic training?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So the way that we have it set up is I have 2 strength days where I'm, using barbells, dumbbells, things like that, doing a lot of your standard lifts that translate well to performance with lunges, wall balls, and so forth. And then I have 6 days of running. So even though I'm lifting a day, I'm running as well, before or after, splitting it up throughout the course of the day. So overall, I'll be anywhere from 35 to 50 miles a week of running, which may sound like a lot for a 8K race, but I really do think I'm probably on the lower end compared to some of the other competitors out there. And then you can also balance that out with cross training as well. So ski, row, bike, just to kind of get your overall volume up and work on your aerobic capacity as a whole. So then running is broken out into, there's a couple like easy or recovery runs throughout the course of the week. And then there's really going to be 2 quality sessions that I'll have scheduled for the week. It kind of depends on what we're focusing on, but it could be, like a tempo long run or a cut down long run, or, earlier this week I did 1,000s and quarters for repeats, trying to focus on race pace or faster than race pace. So when I initially started, like I said, I thought you could just go out, like if it's an 8K race, I'm going to run 8K and then I'll be ready to go. But you really need to build that aerobic volume so you can handle the needs or the what the race it requires of you over the course of that 60 to 2 hour time frame, kind of whatever you're targeting.
During your training, what equipment is involved here? You're saying you're doing a lot of dumbbell work. You're also doing a lot of training. Do you have all the equipment necessary to perform all 8 stations and prepare yourself for a race?
Yeah, so I actually work out of a home gym, which I think is a little bit unusual for a lot of HYROX competitors. They're generally, join a gym. I haven't found a great option here where I live in Woodbury. So when I knew I was transitioning to HYROX, I slowly started, buying stuff off Facebook Marketplace or some of the stuff I had to buy new, and just slowly accumulating all the equipment that I would need. But I have it all in a 10-foot wide by 20-foot long section of my garage, and it is heated. So being in Minnesota in the winter, I can still work out there. In the summer, it can get a little hot, but I have all the equipment, and I generally, in the summer, I can set it all up out in our road. I have like a dead end road that I can do everything in. In the winter, it gets a little more tricky just with the limited space. So, you're doing, sled pushes and pulls that are only 15 feet long. You try to do it at a higher cadence or something along like that, just to make sure you're still getting the stimulus in.
That's awesome that you're able to perform all those workouts. I think, space is always a limitation for those who are trying to have a home gym and collecting all those materials. So it's great to hear that you can find a way to still compete at a high level, even though the space isn't afforded to you. Now, my next question is more along the lines of nutrition. So how are you kind of balancing your diet along with that training in preparation for these HYROX competitions?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I have like a general idea of where I want to be. I don't track calories or, anything along those lines, but I know that I want to be around, 3,500 to 4,000 calories, depending on what training day it is. The calories, carbs will be higher on large training days where I'm running, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles. And then I'll try to cut back some of that if it's a rest day or if it's a lighter day itself. But, targeting a specific amount of calories, about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. And then I'm looking at anywhere from 300 to 450 carbs a day as well. And when I'm home, it's great. I can meal prep. That's where the men's physique side comes in, right? Like I was used to meal prepping and cooking a bunch of rice or sweet potatoes and protein ahead of time, and then just having in the fridge so I can easily reheat and go. Because I think one of the hardest things is if you don't have anything that's easy to reheat throughout the course of the day, everybody's busy with work, kids, things like that. You're gonna just grab for a bar that's in the cupboard, or you're gonna run out and grab some food that may not necessarily meet your nutritional needs. The problem I have is I travel quite a bit for my job, so when I'm on the road, sometimes it can be a lot harder to find options that meet my nutritional needs. So I'll rely more on protein shakes, protein bars. Try to plan ahead. If I know where I'm going, I can kind of Google some of the restaurants that I would prefer to stop in versus, grabbing pizza or a burger or something like, things like that. So just doing the best I can with what's available.
It's hard to keep up with the macros when you're traveling. It's inconsistent or low quality food. So do you have any go-to places or go-to recommendations or strategies for people that are trying to stay healthy on the go?
I always look for things that have rice bowls that are available that you can customize, add in your own proteins and so forth. Any places that have, again, wraps tend to work out really, really well for me also. So like, your kavas, your sweet greens, your even chipotles, things like that are quick, simple, and still kind of meet your needs overall. But I was using an app for a while, tracking macros and so forth while I travel, and it's pretty eye-opening to understand all of the additional calories and carbs that are in a lot of the things that you would just order off a menu when it comes to the mayos and the salad dressings and things like that. It can sneak up on you pretty quick.
You travel quite a bit. You also got family, the amount of hours you have to dedicate to this training. How do you personally balance this all? Because there's like 3 huge commitments right there. So how do you maintain all that and then still compete at a high level?
It's definitely a balancing act. I mean, some weeks are better than others, right? When it comes to that, I think the first thing you just have to do is give yourself a little grace, right? Like, high rocks itself is a sport. It's supposed to be fun. I am not competing at an elite level, so I got to make sure that I have my priorities in line. That being said, I will do pretty much whatever I can to make sure that I get my workout in during the day without affecting my family, my work life, or even when I'm traveling. So if that's getting up at 4 a.m. to get a run in while I'm traveling, I'll get it out of the way in the morning because I know that later in the day, I really don't have a whole lot of control over my schedule. If meetings go late or I have to go out to dinner with clients or something like that. So generally, it's always in the morning. And then same thing for when I'm home on the weekends, I'll be up early. I'll get it out of the way so that I can spend the rest of the day with my family. Thankfully, being in a sales role as well, you do have some flexibility with your schedule sometimes. So there are days where I can get some sort of workout in during a lunch break or something along those lines. But it's really important for me, at least, to plan ahead, because if I go into the day and I don't have a plan about where and when I'm going to get my workout in, it generally is a lot harder, right? Like sometimes you might skip it, or you might get in a portion of that workout when when if you would have just got up in the morning and done it, you would have been able to get it all in. So it is a challenge. I'm thankful that my family is very supportive of the racing and the working out as well. So that helps a ton.
Are you wake up at 4 a.m., you brew a pot of coffee and you get to work? What's your morning strategy?
Usually I wake up, I'll eat a banana, and then I'll take BPN at G1M Sport Plus. So it has carbs, it has electrolytes, and it has caffeine. I'll take that down and I will do my warm up and go. And I'll bring some nutrition along the way for the workout as well. And then just eat my full breakfast when I'm done. It's not ideal. I would much rather be able to wake up, have a cup of coffee, eat breakfast, let it settle, go out for my run. But unfortunately, at this time in my life, that's just not an option 99% of the time.
Yeah, you got to put it on autopilot here and, make it a little dummy proof in the mornings. I guess, I try to hit the 5 a.m. workouts, and I know the trainer at the class will be like, you're kind of dragging it, Riley.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I'm here.
Yep. I never want to get out of bed. That's for sure. But you make yourself get out of bed, you start moving around, start feeling a little better. Like, right, I'm sure once you get to the gym and you start working out, you're feeling better. And then by the time you're done, you're happy that you got it done and out of the way in the morning.
Yeah, once the sun comes up and you got a good sweat going, it usually feels pretty good. So you have all three of those. You're balancing it. How do you keep the physical fatigue and the mental fatigue down? Because I got a couple kids myself, and it seems like they keep you on edge. You got to think about everything around toddlers. So how do you kind of keep that balance of, being mentally sharp and physically sharp at the same time?
Sharp might be a strong word sometimes, right? Like you may not actually be mentally or physically sharp. You're just kind of getting things done. Caffeine is huge for me. I probably reach for caffeine a little more than I should, depending on the day. I mean, my son's 4 now, so the sleeping has got a little bit better, but in earlier years, there's a lot of days where you're a couple hours asleep and you're up for the day, both working and working out. For me, I think that working out actually relieves stress for myself and it makes me a better parent. And I know that if I don't get it done, especially over the course of several days, it's probably going to show up in how I am represented or being with my family. So I do prioritize it because I know in the long term it's beneficial for all, right? I don't want to be crabby knowing that I haven't been able to get my workout in and so forth. So it's not always easy, but again, when it's all said and done, I think you're happy that you were able to accomplish it.
Yeah, it's kids are great. You just can't control them, but at least when you enter the gym or you start a workout, that is something that you have control over. And I always kind of feel like even if it wasn't the best workout or, I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to, at least I got it done and I was able to do it on my own, time. And then I can go back to being dad afterwards, which it's quite refreshing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people put too much weight on one workout when really what's going to move the needle long term is consistency. So maybe you didn't hit the workout exactly how you wanted, or your pacing wasn't where you wanted it to be, but you still went out and you got that run in, or you got that workout in. And that's going to do so much more for you over the course of weeks and months and years than if you take 2 days off and then you hit a good workout and then you have 2 days off again. So, I mean, that's what I also hang my hat on is the consistency. Even when I'm traveling, say I was supposed to run, 8 miles, and I only got 6 in or something like that morning. Like it's still something, and it's still going to help me stay fit moving forward.
You've been doing HYROX here for a couple years, and HYROX is really surging in popularity. I think the stat is they estimate 1.3 million participants in 2026 here. So it has grown massively. Why do you think people are drawn to this hybrid format?
I think there's multiple reasons that people enjoy running HYROX or want to run a HYROX. The first thing is that I don't think any of the stations are limiting in any way. I think anybody who puts a little time into training is going to be able to complete a HYROX. Like who knows what time it'll be, but they'll be able to get through wall balls, lunges, burpee broad jumps, all of that. So the movements aren't that complicated. Whereas if I wanted to compete in CrossFit, I don't think I could do a lot of the things that they do, right? So it's widely available for the public to compete. I think social media has a big part of it as well. I mean, it's all over social media. Everybody wants to be out running a HYROX, post it on their social media. Guys can run with their shirts off. Girls are in sports bras and so forth. Like, you know what I mean? It's like just something that people really want to show that they've done. Some of the other things too are, I think it's a very well run race, so that helps. And then it's also really, really spectator friendly. So if you're running a HYROX, your friends, family can come watch you, right? They can watch you on a station. Then they got to wait however long it takes for you to run that 1K, and they can just move over to the next station and watch you complete the station and kind of follow you throughout the course of the race and cheer for you, versus a Spartan race, a marathon where you might see somebody run by for 30 seconds, right? So I think it brings the whole family or friend group together within HYROX itself. So, I mean, you combine all of that, and I think that's why everybody wants to be a part of HYROX. And I mean, at an elite level, there's so much more sponsorship coming in. You got Nike signing, you got Adidas signing people, Puma. I mean, they're really doing it right when it comes to the elite level as well.
One of the things I think is interesting is the doubles, and I don't know what the term is, but a relay with multiple people. And so, when you run say a half marathon or full marathon, you're running individually, and you could obviously do that, right, in a HYROX race. But I do think that partnership aspect of it, couples are doing it, trading off in the doubles. And I think that group dynamic it's all about, personal competition and beating your results, but also that community around it too. I think it kind of fit a nice middle there.
Yeah, there's an easy path of entry, I would say, to run doubles and kind of get a feel for the race. I mean, that's what I did the first time around too. So it's not as intimidating if you're going out with a partner and you're going to have somebody there to help you if you stumble on the stations or give you motivation while you're running and so forth.
As a HYROX athlete, when you're spectating the elites, what's going through your mind? Are you kind of picking up techniques, or, oh, I really like the way this person does the sleds, or, are you kind of gathering information, or is it just kind of, this is pure entertainment?
It's definitely both. Like, it's extremely entertaining to watch those men and women race, and again, how good they are at their races, how fast. I am one of those guys that rewatches races on YouTube while I'm doing an easy run or so forth, and I'm looking at how they're approaching stations and the technique they're using for sled push, sled pull, burpees. How are they stepping up? Are they using a knee technique? Like, I'm looking at everything they're doing because I know that if they're the best, I can definitely pick something up from them as well. When I'm in the same wave as some of those guys, that's more of just like stand back and watch kind of thing, right? Like maybe I can keep up with them on the first run, probably shouldn't be. But then after that, they're lapping me and a lot of the other competitors while we're out there. And it's just impressive with how fast they're going. I mean, they're running by me like I'm standing still and I feel like I'm running fast. So it just tells you there's so many levels to the sport of HYROX.
What were the things that you learned in your subsequent races that you wish you would have learned when you did your first race?
So for me, the first one was bring water on course. I was right. I had to stop after like every station when I ran Fort Lauderdale because I was so thirsty, and that might be partly just me. Like I'm a heavy sweater and I need to drink water when I am working out. But that was a big one for me. Uh, the sleds as well, like pacing on the sleds. I definitely hit the sleds way too hard. I was the first one out of the ski when I first started, so I started way too fast. So just wish I knew better about pacing, and that's something you learn over time as well. And then finally, I would say just wall balls in training are very different than wall balls in a race, right? Like I was good or pretty good at wall balls during training, but that first race, you get to the end and you got 100 to go. It is a completely different feeling. So it's just something that kind of catches you off guard the first time, or at least it did for me.
The nice thing about the race is that it's consistent format, right? You know which each thing is, and you can strategize. Did you adjust your training program to accommodate for that? So did you just kind of do everything else and then throw the wall balls at the end, trying to get like fatigue yourself out and simulate what a race would be like?
For sure. So that was one of the feedback I had from my coach is like the wall balls caught me off guard. Like I was not ready for that. So a lot of times I'm doing wall ball finishers. So at the end of a workout, I hit 100 to 150 wall balls. The other thing I did is I ordered a 30-pound wall ball. So I'll use a much heavier wall ball. If I'm not like doing a race sim or like, I rarely do a full race sim, but say I'm doing like the back half of the race, I'll use the 20-pound wall ball then. But if I'm just doing wall balls for reps, I'll use the 30-pound wall ball to help kind of train those muscles and so forth. And I think it has paid off. A lot of races I've been towards the top when it comes to wall ball time. Unfortunately, I'm just getting there a lot further behind everybody else. So at the end, it doesn't pay off as much as maybe it could. But I think using the heavier wall ball and just doing more of them overall definitely helps.
If you were to coach a newcomer to the sport of HYROX, say somebody is looking to sign up for their first race, what advice would you provide them to kind of make sure that they have a good, solid first experience?
Yeah, I'd say, first of all, make sure you give yourself time to train for the race itself, right? I mean, you want to give it depends on your fitness level, but I would say at least 12 weeks, a good 3 to 4 months out to be able to prepare yourself for what the race entails. Now, with how races are going, as far as signing up and being able to get a ticket, I don't know if you've seen online, it is extremely hard to get into races these days in the United States. So you're probably going to have to plan that far out anyway. And then from there, I would suggest if it's your first time, definitely stick to the open weight versus pro. And again, depending on your fitness level, you may also want to try to sign up for doubles just to get a feel for the race itself, what it's going to entail, and it'll give you a great starting point going forward. From a training perspective, you really have to kind of evaluate where you are currently in your fitness journey, I guess I would call it. Are you a strong runner that needs help on strength, or vice versa? You think you'll be really good at the stations, but the running is something that could hold you back, and try to pick out kind of where you want to focus. I think can be a little bit challenging to get really good at running and then also become a lot stronger at the stations at the same time, because sometimes they require different things. So I would want to figure out where the weakness is and kind of work on that itself. But obviously, as you're getting closer to the race, you're going to want to get familiar with the stations. You're going to want to know how to ski, proper form, grow with proper form. I mean, there definitely is technique to sled push, sled pull, wall balls, kind of figuring some of that out. I mean, my first race, the first time I touched a ski erg was in the warm up area. So I was like, I tried it a couple of times. I'm like, I think I got this figured out. Like, you just pull down, right? We'll be fine. It'll all work out. But I think as well too, I would just warn that you're probably, at least everybody I know gets hooked on HYROX once they run their first one. So just be prepared that I think you'll really enjoy the experience, and you're probably going to want to run another one.
Augie, thank you so much. Can you share with everybody where they can find you and what races you have upcoming?
Sure. So I'm not huge on social media. I do have Instagram. It's Lengling A. And then my next race is going to be Boston in October. I'll run both singles and doubles there, and then hopefully get into some races later in the year. They announced San Diego, Portland, so maybe target one of those. But we'll see if I can get a ticket or not. So more to come on that.
You'll be watching the website closely, huh?
Right, you'll log in right away. Hopefully you get one.
Awesome. Augie Lengling, thank you.
Thank you.